Were you aware that when it was revealed that he had been ignored by a member of his own gang, K-Flock lost his temper? Reports state that in 2020, K-Flock, a drill musician from the Bronx, used a gun against a person who had used one against his friend. That buddy testified against him today. Brockington, also referred to as Dooge in the streets, is the name of the snitch. Even after Dooge, B-Clock's best friend, agreed to a plea bargain to avoid getting charged and snitching on Flock, Flock still called the jail after being arrested for selling.
Talk to them, Flock. Talk to them, my dog. Soon come home, man. You got these little boys walking around with no jewels, Flock. They need you. They need you, Flock.
However, Dow's information leak affects his release date. To understand when he will be released, you must read the case. When someone hit you and called you to the hospital, prosecutors questioned Dooge in court. Calling KK, Dooge stated, "You know we got you, bro." Then, after the prosecutors confirmed that KK was talking about Flock, Dooge said, "Yes, I was going to retaliate against whoever hit me." To get him to publicly acknowledge it, the prosecution said, "Flock hit them up in retaliation for you." He had a gun on him, and Dooge added that someone was grazed during the confrontation. The death of Oscar Hernandez coincided precisely with Dowd's claim that he was carrying a gun and spoke on the phone with rival team members who were passing by their block.
Okay, but so I saw some fans who were off at both me and academics after K-Flock got locked up because, well, just because I guess, like, you know, in our tone when we talked about it, you know, it might have seemed like we were being a little too presumptuous. But is that weird for you? Because I'm sure you see people all the way from rappers to whoever acting like, you know, your boy is just done and that he's cooked in this situation.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, people, especially people that don't even be knowing, like, y'all don't even know what's going on, bro. Yeah.
K-Flock was accused of Oscar Hernandez's murder on December 23, 2021. That day, he and his sister were captured on camera walking down the downtown sidewalk. Because the case files explain how the incident happened, he said this. "However, since court files are still available, you can tell me if he is guilty." Flock had on a blue coat, expensive trousers, and a shiny mask. Oscar immediately knows the Flock from inside the barbershop as it passes by in the movie. The fact that Flock was on Instagram Live just minutes before arriving on the scene, yelling at his operations before putting his phone down, should not be overlooked. "What are you looking at?" he asks as he approaches him. They begin to shout at one another, but Flock didn't want any problems and left because he was with his sister. Oscar, however, took things too far by briefly following Flock. He pondered and thought about returning to the store, but he made the poor decision to leave. When Flock saw Oscar reaching into his jacket pockets in the ensuing seconds, he quickly took a gun out of his jacket out of concern for his sister's safety. He hit Oscar multiple times against his will. Oscar passed out as he attempted to dash back into the barbershop. Ethel fled the scene once he stopped shooting, leaving Oscar alone as he lay on the pavement. On the scene, witnesses phoned 911. Paramedics arrived and brought him to a neighboring hospital in New York, leaving just shell casings and the Oscar slides he was wearing at the scene. But Bobby revealed his thoughts about K-Flock.
What's it like for you watching the K-Flock thing happen? That's crazy. Next big artist coming out of New York.
I love Flock, so I like that. That's my guy.
Okay.
But, you know, I'm wishing him the best right now, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, for the alleged charges they pushing on him, you know what I'm saying? I'm wishing his family the best. I'm wishing the whole team the best and everything, you know what I'm saying? And I hope he beat them alleged charges, you know what I'm saying? Because he got a lot of future brightness. He got, and I hope, you know what I'm saying?
That would be a sad story if that's the end of the...
So we ain't gonna think like that, you know what I'm saying?
You gotta stay positive.
The NYPD was clueless about the incident and its perpetrator for a whole day. To identify their suspect, they looked to the public for help after gathering security footage of the incident and failing to identify the individual wearing the mask. Unfortunately for Flock, his popularity and singing career didn't assist his situation because fans started to take care of him after learning that K-Flock shared the same. Kevin turned himself in to investigators yesterday, and I was with him. Earlier that day, he was on Instagram wearing a jacket and mask, and he was dressed in luxury attire. As soon as fans realized this, they notified the police, who then issued an arrest warrant for Flock. Nevertheless, He hired an excellent attorney in his last hours of freedom, and the two of them entered the police station. His attorney then made the statement public. As soon as I learned that he was wanted for the charges against him, the 30th Precinct ordered Ms. to be deposited with the NYPD. Our investigation into these allegations has begun, and we will discuss bail once we have had an opportunity to review the case and the Diaz noteworthy disclosure. All the government material was sent to Locke's lawyer, who then got to work on the defense.
When the guy hits the ground and is found, he's got a loaded that was in his pocket that his hand was on at the time. We consider that to be self-defense.
So he did take him in self-defense.
That's what the allegation is. I don't want to talk too much about the details of the case,
Okay.
but the government claims that he pulled the... But at the same time, the person that was on the ground had his hand on a illegal loaded...
Okay. So without saying too much, you're arguing obviously self-defense.
That could be one of the arguments, self-defense, and I would say to the public, somebody's walking up to you with a loaded, it's pretty clear he's going to use it, with a criminal record a mile long. Do you want to get or do you not want to?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't hesitate to pull it.
The Bronx Third Side crew has a lengthy history with Flock, who has a history of being extensively involved in street crimes in the years before this occurrence. In the streets, Flock was a well-known and powerful presence. Shortly after the event, the NYPD issued a statement in which they said they felt it was the outcome of a long-running rivalry between street teams. Judgments and his operatives would often target him specifically when they retaliated. While K. Flock's lawyers worked on a self-defense claim, the situation deteriorated when it was discovered that K. Flock had been charged with several racketeering conspiracy charges, commonly known as RICO charges, by a federal grand jury. Aware of how awful a RICO is, hip-hop artists reacted to the news by saying that K. Flock had just been caught in a RICO since it was over DJ. Educators even shared K. Flock was just indicted by the feds on a RICO charge. He risks life in prison if he doesn't squeal or defend the allegations. Additionally, state charges are keeping him in prison. Please pray for his release. Once they acquire you, the feds will stop at nothing to keep you, as Boozy mentioned regarding Lion W. Melly.
When they want you, they want you. I knew they wanted them bad when they waited for that law to get passed. So it'd be 8-4.
Oh, right, yeah.
They waited all the way till that law got passed to take him to trial.
Yeah, he was sitting in jail for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, they could have been took you to trial.
You're right.
They waited till that law got passed and took him to trial a couple months later. When they want you, man. Just don't see how he didn't get a bond after a news trial.
But Flock's attorney wrote on social media, "We've been fighting Kevin's state charges for more than a year now because the incident was a clear act of self-defense. So it wasn't a strong charge. So we're not surprised by the federal charges. It's noticeable on film that it's currently being utilized as the basis for a penalty charge, which is noteworthy." One of the K. Flock trials is ending today, according to K. Flock court reporters, which is a good thing. Prosecutors were reportedly unprepared at the time, but Kevin and his sister were shielded by an object from an armed team member who was going to remove it from his pocket. At the end of the day, they noted that Flock seemed upset, stumbling a lot, not answering the judge's questions, and offering little evidence to counter his attorney's argument, even though it was his first trial. His lawyers were so confident that they would win that they conveyed a message from him while he was incarcerated.
I know what's going on, man. Flock, I know something you, man. Like, me to the guys, man. Hey, yo, like, I'll be back real soon. Shout out to my fans and my supporters, man. I love all y'all, man. For all of you out there, violence, man. For me, and do what y'all supposed to do, man. For me, get through life correctly, bro. Like, get money. So, man, I'll see you real soon.
Yet did you know that rappers are singled out by the federal government? Last week, the Atlanta police even called Lil Baby.
The investigation aspect of this, Lamont Freeman was allowed to be a 13-year-old for 27 minutes before gang violence ultimately took his life. Gang violence was orchestrated by adults in our city, and cowardly acts of an Atlanta-based rapper that decided to go over into a rival gang stronghold and shoot a music video in a place that he knew he should not have been. And in the subsequent days, we saw and ultimately the deaths of 2 children as a result of his cowardly actions, and you know who you are. And I tell you that this team will work relentlessly to hold you and the persons that you are affiliated with responsible for those actions.
Sheriff Nam of Jacksonville even dropped Young and Ace, 2 rappers. Will the federal government crack down on rap?
So Young and Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them. I won't speak to the chief's investigation. That's up to TPD. We don't have an investigation on him right now, but he can't move around in Jacksonville without us knowing about it. And that's for the betterment of our community.